Hi and welcome back to template development number 2 in radial line development. Now this second exercise is based off the same dimensions for the first one, and if I just bring the picture on screen for a second, you can see that apart from the now sloping frustum that's at the top of the cone, we can draw the thing precisely as we did it before. So let's get that thing off the screen and start the actual development itself. So I'm going to go up and grab a polyline and come down on screen to start a point off somewhere. So just left click on screen, pull it across for our 2.5 inches and left click, come up 5 and across 2, so it's 2.5 inches up and 1 inch back, and left click, come across one space which is 1/2 inch and click, then C for close. The next thing we're going to do is for 2 reasons. The first is, as we saw in the first exercise, if we do a fillet on this now, it's going to remove that top line. That's reason number 1. Secondly, we want to actually use this top section alone to offset it downwards by 1 inch, then extend it to the side of the object so we could then draw our frustum down correctly. So let's explode it. The explode command's middle on the right hand side on the modify menu. So we'll just click that, come down on screen, left click the outside shape and right click. So that's that one exploded. The next thing we want to do is to use the offset command. Now, like the drawing said, there is an offset here of 1 inch downwards. But on the sloping side, that's very difficult to fathom. However, what we can do is use the offset there, and then enter 1, then enter. Select our top line, which is now separated from the rest of the outside shape, and move it downwards like so. 1 inch, and then left click. Now you'll notice up here towards the, well, on the top, the third item across on the modify menu is trim. Now there is a caret by the side of it, and if you left click that caret, you'll see that there are in fact 2 commands under there, and one of them is extend. And what we're going to do is to extend the left hand side of this line, which we've offset down by 1 inch, so that it touches the outside of the shape, giving us the depth of our frustum, and we can just draw it in at that point. So I'm going to left click extend, click the left hand side of that object so it extends it across, and then grab a polyline, attach it to that top point there, and then attach it to the end point at the end of that line. At that point, we can delete the line we offset downwards, delete the top line that we offset, and now I can turn the extend back to trim and left click that one off. And that is our shape. Now the other technique that we're going to be using is really, apart from doing the, I better get out of that one. So apart from doing the obvious fillet command, we needed to develop down this frustum. So I'm now going to use the fillet command with a 0 radius to give me the point of axis at the top. That's a radial point, while still maintaining this frustum cut line. Now the next thing we're going to do is put on a circle, and just like we did before, although this time we're not going to move it down, what we're going to do is just take a 2-point circle, come to the lower left hand side and left click, and pull it across to the right hand side and left click again. Now, once we've done it before, we had these lines here, right? We had a single line up the center, and then we done an array command and split this up into 12. Well, if you can imagine, we only really need half of the circle because the lines at the top and the lines at the bottom actually all match up. So we only really need half of this circle. So I'm going to use the trim command again, and I'm going to take off the top part of this circle. The next thing is a new command we're going to introduce now that we have this line here, which is now it's an arc rather than a complete circle. We're going to split up this line into 6 parts, and if you can imagine, it's like half of the circle, so half of the number of points is required. So we need to go down to our command line, and we need to type the word divide. That is D-I-V-I-D-E. Okay, and hit enter. Now it asks us to select the object to divide, and I'm going to left click the circle, or the arc in this case, and the number of segments is going to be 6. Then enter. Once again, just to reaffirm, we only really need half of the circle to be developed. So that's what we've drawn. We've just drew the whole circle, trimmed out the top part, and because we want 12 segments like we did before, half of the circle is going to require 6. Now the next thing we're going to have to make sure, if we go down to our object snaps, there is another one that we need. Node. Now you can type that in as a command, N-O-D, the first 3 letters, to have a shortcut to get node up, but we're going to use it 5 times or so. So I'm just going to click on node and make that an option on our object snaps. Now we need to go to polyline and click polyline, bring it onto screen. I'm momentarily going to turn my F9 key off, and I'm going to come somewhere near the outside of this shape. And what you'll notice is there are node points now visible. So I'm going to click on there, and I need to develop that directly upwards until it hits that baseline, and click. Right click, then enter. Right click, repeat line. Come down to the next node point, bring it directly upwards until it hits that line, and click again. Repeat line into the center, and you can repeat this process so that we end up with all of the polylines put on, and they're developed directly up to this line. Now we always take these lines and develop them upwards because they go directly or straight up, whether we've done the whole sectional view below or just this half view. We develop them right up to the baseline, and at that point we now angle these to the apex. Just going to carry on putting these lines on. So from there to the apex, down to the end of that line again. And last but not least, the center line. Okay. Now another thing to remember is, like most objects, we can only view them in their true length if they are developed to the side. Okay, we could only develop in their true length if they're developed to the side. So the next thing we need to do is to turn all of these lines, because all of these are on a slopey surface that's tapering away from us, we need to develop these all to the right hand edge. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you what I mean. I'm going to start a line from there, move it directly across until it touches that outside edge, and left click. I'm going to do it again for the next intersection. Left click. And move each one of these lines where they touch that frustum. And develop it to that one side. So each one of those is now developed out, so we can use that side edge for putting on a bunch of circles. Now these two at the top are going to be very close. As you can see, if I zoom back a bit, you'll see how close they are. They are pretty close. But what we have in points, the top part of the line is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We should have 7 lines developing that one out. And now we're going to do the same as we did before, except for now we've got a lot more circles to put on rather than just the top and the bottom. So I'm going to grab my circle command and turn it back to a center radius. Come to the top of the apex. Zoom in a little bit. And left click when I hit the end of that line. Now to repeat the circle command, I then select the top automatically. What we can do is right click, repeat circle. I then go somewhere near the edge of that circle, because that will give us the center point. You see it up there? And left click. Now I can just pull that down again without having to go zooming in and out and back up to the top of the apex, and click. Right click, repeat circle, hover over one of those circles, left click, and then come down on that edge and click again. And we repeat that for all of these lines that we've now developed out. We've developed them all to that side edge, and those are the ones that we're going to measure. We're going to take it, move it down, click, repeat circle, hover over the line area, move it down, and click, and so on. Well, we've only got another 2 to go. Over the circle, click and pull, over the circle, and this one is the base. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is the same as we did before. We're just going to take our polyline and pull it down, so we've got a start point for our pattern. And whether you need to do the whole view of the thing underneath or just a half view, because we've divided this half circle into 6, we can do the same as we did before. Grab a circle and measure the distance between these equispaced points. Because we divided this up into 6, each one is equal. Now we're going to copy this circle using the center point, just as we did before, and now go round. That will make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and last but not least, the 12th one. And just like before, we're going to go round and put our lines on. This time is a little bit more necessary, because we're going to draw our line from there to the apex to there. And as you can see, just like on the parallel line now, we're going to be developing our shape across these circles that we've developed out. So I'm just going to continue on with this. Right, just make sure you get that intersection point dead on. Repeat line from there. You could hover over that part and get the center. Move that down. From there, hover over that circle. To there. From there, and the last one. From there to there. Now, as you can see, this lower side, and we always try to put a joint on the lower side because the least amount of welding, the better when we're trying to weld something up. So we would start on that low point, which is in fact right there. So I'm going to change my color again. Back to red. Grab my polyline and zoom in, and now we're going to do it almost exactly the same as we did on the parallel line, moving across one and up one until we hit the inside line. I then keep on moving across one and start moving downwards. So I'm going to start here, move across and up, across and up, again across and up, across and up, and to that one. Now I'm going to move across one but go down and down and down and down and down and down. Okay, I'm just going to left click it, right click it, go to polyline and curve fit. That's our line. Okay. Now I'm going to use a polyline from there to there and break it off because I want to curve fit this base too. And then put a line across between the points of intersection or the center of the circles, whichever. There. And I did get someone asked as to why it doesn't quite fit right when you're talking about these first two and the last two. It's because we haven't got a point out there and the curves fit across 3 points. An arc is always drawn with 3 points. So it's basically arcing the line and curve fit. You can see there's just a little bit of discrepancy there. There will be the same thing right there, but it's pretty close to where we want this thing to be. So with something this small, it's not going to be much of an issue. And that's it. That's the second template development done in Radial line development. Just submit that one and we're good to go. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next exercise.